The Toronto Raptors have just begun their head coaching search and have received permission to talk to a number of candidates around the basketballing world, but one candidate sticks out in particular, and that is WNBA coach Becky Hammon. So in today's video, we have to answer, can Becky Hammon really be a head coach in the NBA, and would she be successful with the Toronto Raptors? Let's get into it. This is Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel dedicated to Toronto Raptors content in videos, live streams, and shorts. So if you like what you see from today's video, consider subscribing, joining the Amateur Hour Army, and helping me on my road to 15,000 subscribers. Content coming at you all throughout the offseason. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reported yesterday about the Toronto Raptors head coaching search and spoke about the number of coaches around the basketballing world that the Raptors have received permission to speak to. Many of them were assistant coaches around the league. Another person in particular of note was that Adrian Griffin seems as though he's going to be getting an interview shot with the Raptors for that head coaching role. But the name that stuck out amongst all of the NBA assistant coaches is certainly Las Vegas Aces coach of the WNBA in Becky Hammon. This caused a bit of a stir on social media about people talk about Becky Hammon's ability to lead a men's team in terms of a head coaching position. So in this video, we're going to go through everything that she has done in her career as a basketballing coach to determine if she is a suitable candidate for this position. And for the context of this video, it's only fair to look at her accomplishments as a head coach, as a coach in general, from a completely objective perspective, and then we'll get into the subjective nature of the question. Obviously, the elephant in the room in this discussion is that Becky Hammon is a woman. There has never been a female head coach in NBA history. People are wondering if a woman head coach can really lead a men's team. Well, first of all, let's go back to the objective things that Becky Hammon has accomplished in her coaching career. A little bit of a background on Becky Hammon so you know exactly who she is and potentially what she could bring to the team. She is currently the coach of the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA, where she just finished her rookie season in that position. And in that year, Becky Hammon won Coach of the Year and coached the team to a WNBA championship. But how did she get herself involved with such a role to begin with? Well, Becky Hammon had a long and successful career as a women's player, playing around the world, but predominantly in the WNBA. And though she retired in 2014, in 2013, that is where her real coaching journey began. She tore her ACL in a game with the San Antonio Spurs, which naturally sidelined her for an extensive period of time. But in that extensive period of time, she spent a lot of that time working with the San Antonio Spurs. She sat in on meetings, sat in on conferences, sat in on practices, and was very often invited by Gregg Popovic to sound off on her opinion on the proceedings. Those contributions at the time were so impressive to what is widely considered one of the greatest coaches of all time in Gregg Popovic that he had her join the San Antonio Spurs staff after retiring from the WNBA in 2014. After joining in 2014, she spent 8 years as an assistant to Gregg Popovic on the Spurs, and her time there is widely considered to be very successful. As if the impression that she left on Gregg Popovic wasn't impressive enough to us, there's also some takes from players around the league talk about her abilities as a coach, including Hall of Famer Paul Gasol, who had this to say: "I've played with some of the best players of this generation, and I've played under two of the sharpest minds in the history of sports in Phil Jackson and Gregg Popovic. And I'm telling you, Becky Hammon can coach. I'm not saying she can coach pretty well. I'm not saying she can coach enough to get by. I'm not saying she can coach almost at the level of the NBA's male coaches. I'm saying Becky Hammon can coach NBA basketball, period." Now, obviously, based on the endorsements from other people, some great minds that we respect in this game, it appears as though Becky Hammon is suitable to the position to be a coach in the National Basketball Association. But obviously, as I said, the elephant in the room here is that Becky Hammon is a woman. Becky Hammon is a female. So a lot of the questions and a lot of the buzz on social media were about the respect that she would get in that sort of role. And I think it's only natural to ask that sort of question. I think you wouldn't be doing your job as an executive or president in Masai Ujiri's case if you're not asking these sort of things in that interview or in these discussions with Becky Hammon on how she plans to handle that sort of thing. Well, first of all, spending 8 years as an assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs with Hall of Fame players like, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard. A lot of great players there that obviously she earned the respect of. But Could she earn that sort of respect in a different team? Could she earn that sort of respect if she was the head coach and not working under somebody as respected as Gregg Popovic? Well, we don't have a lot of evidence to go off of here, but the evidence that we do have is also extremely impressive. She was the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs going into the 2015 Summer League, so this offered her a real opportunity to lead a group of male players, and it's a really good sign that she was provided that opportunity. It's an even better sign that she also coached a team to the Summer League championship that summer. And as I said, it's a fair question to ask how you plan on garnering that sort of respect from the players to be that front figure for the team. Well, you're doing your job as a president, general manager, whoever's interviewing a coach by asking that question. And that's a question that you should be asking to every candidate, not just Becky Hammon, because of the fact that she is a female coach. There are a number of coaches in the NBA who are male, of course, who have lost locker rooms, who have lost the respect of their teams. Many would say that Nick Nurse lost a locker room this season. I don't necessarily agree that that was the primary problem, but for people saying that was such a big problem in Toronto, like, that could happen to any coach, not just because Becky Hammon is a woman, that's going to happen to her. That could honestly happen to any sort of coach. People may say that it's more likely to have with a female coach in Becky Hammon, but the reality is we just don't really know what her coaching style is from the outside looking in. We don't know what goes on in those sort of locker rooms. We have very little evidence to suggest of anything that goes on in those situations. But the fact that she's worked with Gregg Popovich, the fact that she's garnered the praise of people in the Hall of Fame or going to be in the Hall of Fame like Paul Gasol, and has worked with so many other Hall of Fame caliber players, would suggest that getting respect from the players, like, that has come quite easily for her and naturally should not be a problem as a head coach in the NBA. So when evaluating the possibility of Becky Hammon being the coach of the Toronto Raptors, the discussion should not be about her being a woman and her being a woman head coach on a male team in the NBA. You should be looking at her from a subjective approach based on her accomplishments as a coach. And her accomplishments as a coach are quite impressive. I know the WNBA championship doesn't maybe garner a ton of respect from the NBA community, but it's still impressive nonetheless. And what has also been impressive is the long-standing tenure with the San Antonio Spurs, where she worked under arguably the greatest head coach in NBA history. If you're going to have any sort of mentor, that is a really great one to have. And a lot of the things that Gregg Popovich brought to the San Antonio Spurs, Becky Hammon could bring those things to the Toronto Raptors. So in this whole equation, I'm not really concerned about Becky Hammon's gender involved in this whole situation. I'm concerned about Becky Hammon as a coach and if she can do a successful job as a coach in Toronto. This isn't about taking some high moral stance. This isn't about being some super progressive organization. This isn't about getting any sort of extra media coverage for the team. This is not what that's about. What this is about right now for the Raptors is looking for a coach that is going to help them win some basketball games. Naturally, this kind of gets comparisons to the Ime Udoka situation because it's all this unnecessary, unwanted, bad PR that it would bring to your team. But in this situation, like, the bad PR on Ime Udoka's side is some very immoral activities behind the scenes. The bad PR in this circumstance is that you're bringing a woman into your organization. I don't really understand how those can be comparable because this isn't really bad PR. It's good PR, but that should not be something that factors into your opinion. Good PR should not be something that factors in. Bad PR, in my opinion, should be something that factors into the opinion here. The reality is Becky Hammon is seemingly a great coach and a great candidate to lead this Toronto Raptors team. That is completely there from an objective stance. From a subjective stance, look, I'm sure Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, whoever's going to be in this interviewing process are going to be doing their due diligence in ensuring that if Becky Hammon does come into this team as a head coach, then she is going to be able to garner the respect of this team. She is going to be able to have the team play for her and play under her philosophies. And from the respect she's earned, they seem to be quite good. And from the successes she's had, they seem to be great coaching tactics. This doesn't mean Becky Hammon is my favorite coach out there. I still am a big fan of what Jerry Stackhouse could bring to this team. I'm still a big fan of what Patrick Mutombo could bring to this team. On top of that, I think Adrian Griffin would be a good candidate for this team as well. There's a lot of great coaching candidates out there for the Raptors to consider. And Becky Hammon just simply seems like she is going to be one of them. And if she has a great interview, she does really well with the processes involved in getting this head coaching position, I think she has every right to be a firm candidate to get this job. And if she is perceived to be the best candidate to lead this team going forward, her gender should not affect that decision. Again, this is not my first choice, but if Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster go through this process and decide that this is your best candidate, and the fact that she is a woman should not be the difference between giving her the position and not giving her the position. I don't want to make this some super outlandish take. I don't want this to be any sort of hot take. I don't want to get all this hate in the comments, though I might for this. If she's a good coach, she should be provided the opportunity to coach in the NBA. And if we perceive she's a great fit for us, then I'm all for it. You surely can't say there's no reason why a woman can't succeed as a head coach in the NBA. Like, certainly something that does come to mind is the respect factor that players are going to give her, but I just don't see that being a problem in this scenario, and it has never been a problem with her thus far in her career. So why should that all start now? The reality is, it shouldn't. The Raptors have a lot of time on their side in this scenario with the playoffs going on, potentially some coaching candidates being fired from their current teams, but she'll be involved with this process, as are many other assistants across the league. We'll see how this all plays out. What do you guys make of Becky Hammon's candidacy to be the next Toronto Raptors head coach? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Be respectful. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more Raptors content just like this, hopefully in less controversial circumstances.